We continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Berurah, Baruch Hashem, finally back up to date. We're learning Hilchos Tefillah, and we're up to Siman Sadi Dalid. The Mechaber coins this Siman, Sarich Lechavein Neged Yisrael. Someone has to have intent that he's davening opposite Eretz Yisrael, as well as Din Aroiche V'Yeshiv B'Sfina. The halacha is of one that is riding or riding or traveling, I shall say, on a boat. So says the Mechaber as follows, Sif Alf, Bekumay Lis Ba'alel, when one gets up to daven, Emayayimid B'Chotzaretz V'Yin Chotzaretz, Yachzer Panav Keneged Eretz Yisrael, you face towards Eretz Yisrael, which of course we know more, we'll call it colloquially as Mizrach, east. V'yechavein, and you should have intent. Gam, as we turn over the page over here, v'yechavein, and you should have intent. LiYerushalayim, your intention, your direction is Eretz Yisrael. Your intention is Yushalayim u'lamikdash lebeis kachei kedashim. That's if you're in Chutz La'aretz. Hayayimid Eretz Yisrael yachzbav keneg Yushalayim. You face towards Yushalayim. And you have intent for the Beis HaMikdash of the Kachei Kedashim. If you are standing, you're davening Yerushalayim, you're HaKodesh. Yachzer Panav LaMikdash. Now you're no longer davening just towards Yerushalayim because you're in Yerushalayim, Baruch Hashem. Where do you daven? Towards the Beis HaMikdash. If you're on the other side, Machzer Panav LaKapayris. So says the Mishnah Berurah over here, on this first halacha, that if you're in Chutz La'aretz, you're chaving towards Eretz Yisrael, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkat and Aleph. Pirush, what does this mean? If you're on the eastern part of the world, then you can have intent to the west. Shukun Eretz Yisrael. On the western side, says Mishnah Berurah, like our Medinas, which of course is similar to anyone, I shouldn't say anyone, I mean Baruch Hashem, with technology, Shurim go everywhere. I think someone once wrote in that he's from Australia, so I wonder where he davens from. But us over here in New York, etc., you're Yahapech, Panav La Mizrach, you face east. V'chein b'chol ha'ruchos. V'chein ha'bi'er. So an important detail, I think everyone knows, we daven Mizrach, we daven East. That's true as long as you're in a western part of the world that davens towards East is Eretz Yisrael. But if you're going to be in the other half of the world, or you're in Yerushalayim, or you're in Eretz Yisrael, then it's not just the Mizrach, it's we're directing ourselves to Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, Kodesh HaKodashim, etc. Sivkat and Beis, Keneged Eretz Yisrael, Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, V'ispalu elecha derech artzam, Yidavin derech artzam, their land. V'yechavin Sivkat and Gimel, Ratzah Leimar, what does this mean? Yechavin Liboy, your heart. So the direction is Mizrach, but where's your heart? Your heart is Afal Pishi, Efshel Lachzer, Panav Negdam. This was talking about if you're in Chutz La'aretz, Yechavin Panav Keneged Yisrael, V'yechavin Gam. So the Mishnah Berurah here is speaking out that your heart should be there even if you're not facing that way. You should think in your heart and in your intellect as if you're standing in the Beis HaMikdash. So that's where our thoughts should be. We daven derech Yerushalayim, the way of Yerushalayim. Panav LaMikdash Shev Yisrael Al Beis Hazeh. If you're in Yerushalayim, then you daven towards the Beis HaMikdash. Achari Kapayres Pirush B'Marava Yishal Beis HaMikdash. In the western side of Beis HaMikdash. Panav LaKapayres Shev Yisrael Al Hamakam Hazeh. V'Yirasatzo Kilei Oimid Lefnei Kapayres, and you view yourself. So these halachas are always relevant. You always should view yourself as if you're in front of the Kapayres, in the Kodesh HaKodashim, in the Beis HaMikdash, in Yerushalayim. Our direction is towards Eretz Yisrael, and that is where our heart is. Before we go to Sif Beis, let's take a moment to look at Dirshu over here, note number 1, in which he discusses that we should have intent that we're facing Yerushalayim, and he says that we're going to learn in Siman Sadi Ches this is what you should be thinking before you start Shemona Esrei, and as well during davening itself, when you're thinking about the explanation of the words, you're thinking that you're as if you're in the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Dirshu number 2, the Makar Chaim explains, even though Yerushalayim unfortunately right now is B'churban, it is destroyed, since the Shechina has never left, of course not, the Kaisel Maravi, even B'churbana, even in its ruins, that is the direction that we face. And similarly, with regard to Maidan Derabanan, Rosh Zalman Arbach was Ma'arer, there are many that are not makbid to bow towards east, and even those that bow, even though this din of bowing is in the Gemara, and therefore it says Rosh Zalman, you should do it towards Beis HaMikdash. So important, you're walking in shul perhaps, which you shouldn't be, but you're in a different place, wherever you are, when you bow for Maidim, you bow towards Mizrach as well. And we continue with Sif Beis. Says the Mechaber in Sif Beis, if one dam is ruach misharuchas to another directions, Yitzad Eid Banav Litzad Eretz Yisrael, your face should at least be towards Eretz Yisrael. And we'll be Chutz La'aretz. Yerushalayim, we'll be Eretz Yisrael. Ule Mikdash, and Yerushalayim. So Chutz La'aretz is to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is to Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is to Beis HaMikdash. Says the Ramah, Vanu Shemachzir Paneinu LeMizrach, we face east. Because we're on the west, as we explained, B'nimsa Paneinu L'Eretz Yisrael. Ein Oisim Makayim Ha'aroin V'tzad Atila Neged Zirichas Hashem Ish Mamish. Says the Ramah, the Aroin should not be directly where the sun rises. Kizeu Derech Haminam, then it looks like Apikarsis, looks like Avodah Zarah. That one's davening to the sun. Rak Mechadin Neged Emsa Yoim. It's east in middle of the day. Misha Roitza L'Kayim Amaram Roitza L'Asher Yatzbin. So now says the Ramah, there's a Gemara in Brachas. And the Gemara in Brachas says, you want to be wealthy? Yatzbin, you should daven north. Oy Lachkim, you want to be wise? Yadrim, you should daven south. So asks the Ramah, 1 second. We're busy saying you daven east. You daven east. So then, how can you daven either north or south? If one wants to be wealthy or wise, explains the Ramah, Mikol Makayim, there is a way to do it. Yitzadeit Panav, you turn yourself a little bit, LeMizrach. So your Panav is going to be towards Mizrach, and then, once you're facing in the general direction of Mizrach, then you could turn either to be a little bit north or a little bit south, whether one wants to be wealthy or wise. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat el-Ches, L'ruach, Mishara Ruchais, Kigoin, that's a good example. Meaning, what's an example of the beginning of this sif that you're not facing Mizrach directly? Is one wants to have in north, one wants to have in south. So then you still should turn yourself and angle yourself east. Amru Chazal, you want to be wise, you should have in south. Ahashir, to be wealthy, Yatzvin, to have in north. You're riding, you're riding and you can't turn yourself to Eretz Yisrael. Should turn yourself as much as possible to be Makayim, to fulfill the pasuk that we're davening to Hashem derech artzam, by way of His land. We're davening east. So then the Heichal of the Sefer Torah goes on that wall, on that eastern wall. A very important halacha adds in the Mishnah Berurah over here, who we quoting again from the Pri Megad. Let's say it's impossible. You can't put the architectural builder, whatnot. The Aron cannot go in the east, Yakba B'daran put in the south. Not in the west. Because then it's going to be, because then the back of the people are going to be towards the Eichel. Me, however, if you look over Eichel, because let's say you put the Eichel on a different wall, you should still daven eastward. Now this is, before we even continue, let's go up and let's see Dirshu note number 4, 5, and 6. Says Dirshu number 4. Ubemaisa shehaya. Who's in the northeastern corner, and therefore there won't be enough room to sit. Says Zalman, you're able to put it, you got to put somewhere else. and not put it in the corner, because Kim Shabbatar Shel Fanenu Loi Nagu Lahakpit like Vayas Arna Kodesh Bizavis Amiduyakes Kenegin Makayim HaMikdash. Truth is, in Eretz Yisrael, if you ever look up when you're at the Kaisel, you look up at the corner over there, the Isha Kodesh building, you move a little bit to the left, you'll see that there are a bunch of yeshivas over there that actually have their Aron Mamish facing on the corner towards the Makam HaMikdash, towards the Kaisel. But Rosh Hashanah comments that if by trying to do that you're going to lose a lot of seats in the shul, and we don't have to be so meduyak to put it directly in the corner. Continues Dirshu Mishnah number 5. Let's say you put the Aron HaKodesh not on the eastern wall, not on Mizrach. Says the Shalas Tshuvas Beis Shloimeh Shemuter L'Shanais. You're allowed to move the Aron HaKodesh. You don't have to be worried. Marin Mikedushas Hamakayim. We know once the Aron is in a place, that place retains the kedusha. Says the Shalas Tshuvas Beis Shloimeh, you're allowed to change it because it was a mistake that I put it there. And he adds on Aron HaKodesh that is in a shul. Basically, this is Bekalusai, that moving within the shul is not called diminishing the kedusha. But now in the Dirshu number 6, he points over the Biur Halacha, and later in Siman Kofnon, he's mistapek. If you put the Aron in the south or the north, if the people should daven to east, or they should daven towards the Aron Kodesh. Says the Shevet Levi, Iker is like the Mishnah Berurah over here, and there are shuls that you'll see sometimes that even though the Aron is one way, you'll see that people angle the other way. That would be like the Shevet Levi, who's pasking like our Mishnah Berurah, that the Iker is to follow east. But the Biur Halacha later on in Siman Kofnon does bring up that when the Aron has to be placed on the north or south wall, it is not such a conclusive point that one would daven towards the Aron, east, because it's in a completely different direction, and rather maybe one should daven towards the Aron, towards the north or the south in that direction. Back in the Mishnah Berurah, says Mishnah Berurah, let's say you're standing in the north or south, so it reminds you, you can't stop in the middle of davening. Or let's say you just remember yourself, still, you can't stop in the middle of davening. You turn your head, and that's enough. Even if you're davening with the others, and they're all davening one way, and you messed up, you daven the other way, don't move in the middle of Shon Esrei. If you have no choice, what do? You have your mind, your heart towards Kodesh Kodashim, don't move your legs. However, daven the way that the people are davening, here it is. If you have a shul that puts the Aron on the southern wall, as we just saw, Mishnah Berurah paskins, you should not daven towards Aron Kodesh, but rather you should daven towards Mizrach. So says the Mishnah Berurah, you walk into a shul and you see that they're all davening towards the incorrect area. They're all davening towards the Aron. Kanal b'sivkat and test, as we've seen. Kol makom abal isval sham isval such as sibur misvalim daven the way of the zira achisadid panav lemizrach. Just turn yourself a little bit. This is important. This really brings up halacha that we've said in the past: is you never should be different than the tzibur. And even though the Mishnah Berurah himself holds that the tzibur is doing the wrong thing, still don't go down in a different direction. Rather, just turn yourself ever so slightly towards Mizrach. And we'll just add on, now that we saw the Dirshu quote of the Biur Halacha, certainly once we know the Biur Halacha is mistapik in this case, and maybe it is the right thing to daven towards the Aron, and as much as the Shevet Levi paskin like this Mishnah Berurah, there would be a makayim to do like everyone else is doing. Neged Emsa Yoim, where should you put the Aron where the sun is in the middle of the day? Hailish Alav Davka. Says Mishmur, what does this mean? Be'erech the middle of the day or an hour afterwards. So as a Shemish Kvar Noda Harbe Mekayim moved a lot. Sharim Kol Zeh Be'ish Yuchal Tukuvaz Nisan Natisha Yeshua Achaz Koydin Lozeh. Ayim Biur Halacha She'etakti Es Lashon Al-Vush Vazeh. Look at the Biur Halacha, we quoted the Vush. Vayim Ba'achronin She'eskimu Kulam Nedivrei Al-Vush. Ubdim Yineseinu She'ein Anu Yeshim B'Marav Shel Eretz Yisrael Mechuvim. We're not precisely in the western part of Eretz Yisrael. It's funny, we're a little bit north. It should be a little bit southeastern because then you're going to be mamish towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Medina Fita Chanusa Yamidu basically that's the Fita Arkam. Savers Chamudos. Yishay Minig Oilam is Miyash the meaning of the world. Mikol Makai Masha Minei Gamkein. It's better to like the Lavosh. So not to go exactly east, but actually a little bit southeastern. Ve'im is damin the makisha hakoisel kenegin hamizrach. U'mitzad yipanav kenegin mizrach is daimis ayin sham. Achim is damin lo shaimin mizrach b'tzad darim ar kodesh. You're in the south. Lo yaseh keim. Why not? Shaziyah near koivich oyrev lo panim klab Aron Kodesh. You never want to put your back to Aron Kodesh. Ayin sham lech chamudas. Because we regard the makis ino the makaymais. Shaisin hakoisel mamish negin hamizrach toiv lasus makom harav litzfayin Aron Kodesh. Says the Pri Megadim, if the wall of the Aron is precisely on the east, where does the Rav sit? Litzfayin Aron Kodesh, to the north. Kadesh yuchal lahadrim yachim. Why? So that he can be lahadrim, he can have in southward, and therefore he'll get wisdom, chachma. Tibedarim yevshel lahadrim canal. Because if you put the Rav on the other side, he won't be able to daven as well towards the south. But they do like the Lavosh, that what Aron is on the southeastern, then the Rav should be on the right of the Aron. And there's different Imloi Lahaser Machloikes Al Yakbe, but it's in the cause of Machloikes, then you should not be Makbid, you should not change. And you'd see different Hanagas in Klal Yisrael. Just to point out one, Rav Yashiv, everyone knows from Tiferes Bachrim, he sit on the left of the Aron Kodesh, not like the Mishnah Berurah here says on the right of the Aron Kodesh. Yisad Epanav Sivkat in your base, V'rashi Bir Shem Chasham Lemizach V'yisad Epanav L'Darayin Oilet Safin V'chemin Agenu V'nachayin Hu Kadesh L'Yecholik B'amidasam in a Tzibur. Again, you never want to look different from the Tzibur, so you can have in the same direction as the Tzibur, you're just going to turn slightly. Kasa Pri Megadim, the Mekai Mesha Isaac Lavosh, in a place they do like the Lavosh, HaKoisel Sam Mizrach Draimis reminds us that Mishnah Berurah, what that means like the Lavosh is that the Aron is on the southeastern wall. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ein Tzarech Lahadrim. Either way, you're a little bit south. Gami Evshel Lahatzvin, you shouldn't go north. The Ner Kavich Panam Eretz Yisrael, because if you go north in that scenario, you look like you're going away from Eretz Yisrael. And again, the actual chizik that we take is first of all building a shul, you try to do it in the right way. Second of all, you always try to daven in the right way. But perhaps most importantly is, as we started today, is that you're facing the direction and your leiv and your heart and your kavana is being mechavin, is having intent towards Eretz Yisrael, towards Yushalayim, towards the Kaisel, towards the base, Kodshei HaKadoshim, with the Kapayres in the middle. We'll pick it up from Siftalit in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.